Okay,
Yeah.
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 5:30, and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have announcements for all of our upcoming meetings. Regular council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, September 18th and Tuesday, October 2nd at 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. We have a work session scheduled for Tuesday, September 11th at 5:30 p.m. And we have a special work session scheduled for Tuesday, September 18th at 6 p.m. And this is to review city manager candidates. That meeting will be held in conference room D, but all meetings are held here in the council chambers. We're also in the midst of our truth and taxation. So we're in the midst of budget, and tonight we will adopt the maximum tax levy. That means we will adopt the max tax. We can't go any higher than that when we get to December, but we can go lower than that. And then Tuesday, October 23rd at 5:30 p.m., we will have department budget presentations. Then we have a budget work session scheduled for Tuesday, November 13th at 5:30, and another budget work session scheduled for Tuesday, November 27th at 5:30 p.m. And then we adopt the budget and the final tax levy on Tuesday, December 4th at 6 p.m. And those are the meetings for our truth and taxation. Now, the next item on the agenda is the citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on an item that is not on our printed agenda and not an application form that will be coming before us at a future date. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council? Anyone? Seeing no one, we will move on. The next item is additions to the final agenda, and this is for emergency items only. Ms. Hardy, are there any emergency items to come before the body?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council? Thank you. We now move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on a consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on the consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Ms. Hardy?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Gustafson?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to remove item F.
Thank you. Anyone else? Members of the council, I'm going to remove item C. May I have a motion, please, for the balance of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Schultz makes a motion, second by Councilmember Coughlin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, and a motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen and members of the council, item C is to approve the joint powers agreement between the County of Dakota and Dakota County Community Development Agencies and the City of Burnsville for 2018 Environmental Legacy Fund Grant. Council, I pulled this so that we can just highlight and thank the Dakota County Board for this project, and it's a pilot project with these legacy funds, and we were the recipient. I also want to acknowledge and thank Commissioner Liz Workman for her advocacy to put this project forward as a project that's a pilot. And so I'd like for staff to please address the joint powers agreement, and I believe, Mr. Nienhuis, you're going to be giving us that information. I just want people to understand what this is about and that how very well we're working with what the county is asking for, and that the amount of the grant is $1,150,000 for economic development as well as others. But I'll let you talk about that. Mr. Nienhuis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council approved the seeking of this grant back in March. We were awarded, as the mayor has referenced, $1.15 million for property acquisition and/or demolition. The city staff and the Dakota County Attorney worked on the JPA for the last couple of months. The JPA that is before you tonight has been approved by the county board and the CDA board. It is staff's belief that the $1.15 million probably will not be enough for much property acquisition, so we anticipate that the funds will mostly be used for demolition. We do have a demolition policy that the council adopted last year, which we will follow that policy as we utilize these grant funds. We also have a demolition application for developers to utilize that the council approved last year when we approved the policy. We will utilize that application when anyone comes before us. Because we did not have a specific site identified in our grant application back in March, the county board and the CDA board have requested that when we get various sites for demolition, that we bring them to them prior to agreeing to spend any funds so that they can review those. We obviously also, per our policy, would bring each one of those towards the council for your approval. So any demolition grant funds that gets expended will have been aired between the county board, the CDA board, and the city council. So there will be plenty of time for buy-in. The JPA covers a 2-year period of time, so from the time that it is signed, we have 2 years in which we can spend the funds, and there is a provision in the JPA that we can request additional time if we haven't spent the funds over the 2 years. And at that, Madam Mayor, I would certainly stand for any further questions.
Just again to let everybody know that we have those policies in place and they're available in your office, Mr. Nienhuis.
Yes.
The policies for demolition. Also, there is a request for financial assistance, which they have to fill out, whoever is interested, and then the fundability guidelines. And all of this, I understand the county has all of this information.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I think we have all of the pieces in place that will help us to be open and transparent with people with regard to how these funds are going to be used and how they can access it.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Any, Councilmember Keeley?
Just a quick echo your compliments to Commissioner Workman. We know that entire process was moved through fairly quickly, and I know that Commissioner Workman did a great job of advocating on behalf of what we wanted as a city and what we wanted to use the funds for. So I echo and that compliment, Madam Mayor, that you gave. I think our commissioner did a fantastic job on our behalf in representing Burnsville in this particular ELF grant. So we're thankful for it.
Okay.
We'll put it to good use.
With that, members of the council, I need a motion to approve the joint powers agreement.
Move to approve.
Councilmember Gustafson makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you. F is to approve the memorandum agreement with Burnsville Egan Savage School District 191 relating to water quality education partnership. Councilmember Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The reason I pulled this is I'm totally in favor of it, but it struck me that as a city, we do a lot of work with our school district, and people are often questioning how we affect the districts and for their outcomes. And so I thought it'd be a good chance, because we sometimes just routinely approve these on consent and nobody knows we're doing this. And this one is about, some water quality education that we're gonna do with the school. And I've asked our acting city manager, Dana Hardy, to kind of give us a list of the things that we as a city do in conjunction with the school districts, and just for everyone to know that.
Yeah, we do a lot. Ms. Hardy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Gustafson, members of the council. We're proud of the many partnerships that we have with the school district. Those partnerships come in many different forms. Some of those are very public and they're seen, and some of those are behind the scenes. So thank you for the opportunity to highlight some of the great partnerships and programs that we have in place. The list that I would like to share, something that's definitely not inclusive, but highlights some of these programs seen and unseen. We are actively engaged in the Jobs and Mentoring Program, the Senior Center, the Burnsville Youth Collaborative, the Pathways, which is a program for EMT training, Blue in the School, the Kindergarten Fire Prevention Program, Community Festival Partnership, Cable TV Studio Partnership, Wednesdays in the Park, and then some of those unseen things. We have an agreement to co-locate fiber with the school district. We also share fiber infrastructure, and we have an overflow parking agreement with them at the Diamond Head Center. So a lot of different programs. They cross all facets of the community, and these are just a sampling of the many great things that we do together. There is somebody from the school district here. Kathy is here, and she may be willing to say a few words about the pilot program as well.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Funston, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I would just like to share that in addition to all of the partnerships that Ms. Hardy just iterated, we appreciate the city's partnership on these projects and many more. Our collaboration and partnership together creates a future-ready, community-strong community for all of our youth and new learning opportunities as well. This new learning opportunity arrived when Ryan Peterson approached the school district to talk about water education and water resource management. And we thought, what a fabulous idea, because you have the experts. And we need the experts to help our students understand this really important resource that we have, and then how to manage it better as a community. Our youth teach their parents, and that's the way that we make change, oftentimes with our natural resources. So Ryan has an incredibly talented, dedicated team. They've been walking us through planning this partnership, and we are very excited to begin implementation of this with our high school students and also with elementary students, along with his staff in working together to help our students learn.
Thank you. And I also want to thank you and the school district for sending us youth to sit on our commissions, because that's the other way that we partner together on all of these things. And there is so much more that we do together, so thank you. Is there anything else? If not, a motion is in order.
Move to approve.
Second. Councilmember Gustafson makes the motion, second by Councilmember Coughlin. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you very much. And now we move on to the regular agenda, and to the members of our community who are here for the assessment hearing. We're going to change the order of our agenda this evening, and I ask for your patience with us. We have council members who are catching a flight, and we would need to make sure that they can get out and make that flight. And so what we're going to do is we are going to move item 10, 11, and 12 to the position 5, 6, and 7. Item 10 is to establish our max tax, and item 11 is a special meeting of the Economic Development Authority, and then 12 is the ratification. So those items are going to be moved up to the front, and then the assessment hearings will then follow. And then now we will move to the max tax. Ms. Stry, good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Tonight is the third meeting on the annual budget that we've had. In June, you discussed preliminary budget pressures, and most recently, August 21st, we had a discussion on the maximum tax levy. So tonight is the night to adopt the maximum tax levy that people will see on their property tax, proposed property tax statements that they receive in November. And then in the future, October and November and December are the future budget meetings. And the public is invited to attend any of these meetings and does have an opportunity to speak at the meetings. The resolutions to be considered, the city resolution certifying the 2019 proposed property tax levy for the city of Burnsville. And then the city council meeting will recess for a Burnsville Economic Development Authority meeting to approve an EDA resolution authorizing the 2019 proposed EDA tax levy. And when the city council meeting resumes, there will be a resolution for the city to adopt the EDA's 2019 proposed tax levy. As I mentioned earlier, these amounts will be what will be included in the tax statements that residents get in November, property owners. So as a quick summary of the direction given at the most recent meeting in August, the resolutions that you have before you and were in your background include a total city levy of $34.9 million approximately, which is an increase of 1.6 million or 4.8%. And an EDA levy of $742,500, an increase of $25,000, which is less than 1/10% of the total city and EDA levy. The total levy then would be $35.6 million with an increase of 4.9%. As we discussed at the August meeting, staff is working on a few strategies and finalizing some estimates that we hope to reduce that levy down from that amount. And that will be presented to you in your budget documents that you receive in the next coming couple of months. Setting the max tax at this levy level keeps your flexibility to maintain current service levels. And at that, I stand for any questions.
Questions for Ms. Strye? Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Councilmember Gustafson makes the motion,
Second.
second by Councilmember Keeley. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Discussion point?
Pardon?
Sorry, I didn't get to the button quick.
Oh,
Enough.
Councilmember Keeley?
Well, I just want to clarify, we do this is my 12th year of doing this, setting the max tax. State law requires us to set a maximum tax, which we cannot go over, but we've actually just begun the budget discussion process. So much like a business would forecast in the next year what their budget estimates would be, they then roll up their sleeves and do the hard work and actually come up with what the ultimate budget is. And that's the work that we're about to do over the next 90 days is roll up our sleeves and do the hard work. And so this is just a worst-case scenario that by law we could never exceed. It's a starting point, and that's all it ever is every single year at this time. So it's way higher than many of us up here want to see or will accept, and so we're going to be working very hard to make it go down. So
Okay.
with that, I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
And does the clerk have the division of the House? Thank you very much. I will now recess the Burnsville City Council meeting so the Economic Development Authority meeting can convene. President Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I call to order the Economic Development Authority. Are there any additions to the agenda? I'll also show all commissioners are present, please. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Commissioner Schultz, Commissioner Coughlin seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
We move on to our regular agenda, and that's a resolution authorizing the proposed levy of the special benefit levy to pursuant to Minnesota statutes 469.033. I won't go through the whole thing. You've already talked about it, and we know what it is. Are there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Keeley, second by Commissioner Couch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
And it passes. Nothing else on the agenda. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coughlin, second by Commissioner Keeley. All in favor?
Aye.
I turn it over to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and I will now reconvene the Burnsville City Council meeting. And that first item is a resolution to approve a proposed tax levy by the Burnsville Economic Development Authority for a taxable payable 2019. And this action is only to ratify the action of the EDA. And so I ask for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Gustafson makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Schultz and Councilmember Coughlin, you are excused.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. And now we move on to the first item of the public hearing this evening. And it is a public hearing, and it's a resolution to adopt the assessments for 2018 street reconstruction improvements. And we used to call this the Brian Peterson Show, but now it's the Miss Jen Desrude, our city engineer's show, because from here on in, it's Miss Desrude's show, and she has a lot to talk to us about, and this is the assessment hearing. Ms. Desrude.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Tonight I'll be presenting our assessment hearings for our 3 street projects, the Heart of the City Operations and Maintenance Assessment and miscellaneous special assessments. I think on the agenda there's an order, and I may be out of order a little bit, but I'll note which public hearing we're on at each time. Also tonight we have John Schmeling, who's our Assistant City Engineer, and he was the project manager for the 3 street improvement projects, and so if you have construction questions, he is available for that. So we'll start with the overview of the street improvement process. In February of 2017, the City Council ordered the preliminary report to study the street improvement areas. And then in January of 2018, there was a neighborhood meeting to go over those areas. In March of 2018, the council had a public hearing to order the construction project. And in April, they awarded contracts for those projects. Also in April, we had a neighborhood meeting to go over the projects again, and construction began in May. Just last month in August, the assessment letters were mailed, and they included the final assessment amounts, methods of payment, and then also notified the property owners of the public hearing tonight. So this is the methodology for how we assess the street improvement projects. The assessments are based on footage that's abutting the street at a setback of 30 feet. And then also, street width is a determining factor in how the rates are determined. So that residential streets have a different width typically, and they pay a residential rate. That's an example. 40% of the street costs are assessed. And then there are parts of the project that are not assessed. So we do other work with the public improvement, and so the utility work might be done. That's not assessed. And then 60% of the street costs are not assessed. And any other miscellaneous work that we do wouldn't be assessed either.
But that 60% is paid by all of the citizens of Burnsville.
That's correct.
Yes.
So the special assessment rates are a rate or cost per foot, and it's set every year. It's based on the past 3 years' average cost for the project. And the length of the assessment repayment varies based on the amount of the assessment. So a smaller assessment has a less time to pay, and a larger assessment has a greater amount of time to pay. The interest rate this year is 4.5%. State statute has a assessment objection procedure, so all objections must be in writing, and they must be submitted before the end of the public hearing for that project. So we have 5 public hearings tonight, and then at that time, the council can determine what they want to do with that objection, if they would like to continue and have the staff look into it further, or proceed with the assessment. So we'll move into the 2018 street reconstruction public hearing. This is for work that includes removing all pavement and curbs and replacing water main, doing other utility repairs. There's maybe some sidewalk repair if necessary, other repairs as necessary. This year we had one area that had street reconstruction. It's this area here. Shirley Drive, which goes from Stephen Road all the way around, wrapping past 138th Street, and then ending at Susan Lane. And then Susan Lane from North Shirley Drive to South Shirley Drive, and 108th Street west from Shirley Drive to 130, until County Road 5. And we have some before and after photos. So this is a before on Shirley Drive, and an after. And here's another before and another after to show the improvements that have been made. You'll notice on the after photos, in this neighborhood, the first lift of pavement is on in most places in the neighborhood, but there is the wear course, or the final lift, is put on in the spring. The contractor is still doing work in portions of this neighborhood, so there are a little bit of work left to be done. Here's a cost breakdown. The total project costs for the street reconstruction are about $2 million, and assessments make up about 13% of that, or $270,000. And the remainder, or the bulk of the projects, is paid for out of utility funds, as well as the infrastructure trust fund, which is, as Madam Mayor mentioned, the whole city pays for those things. And the assessment rates are based on the land use. So for single-family parks and open space, they are paying $33.27 per foot. Multifamily and manufactured housing are paying $44.36 per foot, and all other land uses are paying $68.57 per foot. Before calling the public hearing, I would like to note that the city council, or the city, received one written objection that was in your packet. The objection had to do with affordability of the special assessment. The property owner, I don't believe, will qualify for the deferral. And while we understand that special assessments can cause a financial strain, we try to accommodate this by allowing that payment structure. This assessment, the person who is opposing it, has over $2,000, so they're in a 15-year payment plan to help with that.
And Ms. Desruth, you've already spoken to Ms. Jean Persaud?
I believe one of our staff has.
Okay, and she knows that we have this payment structure in place, so she doesn't have to be burdened with the full assessment?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
So it is a staff recommendation to proceed with approving all of the special assessments for the reconstruction project. At this time, we would note that the public hearing is only for those properties with a street reconstruction assessment on Shirley, Susan, and 138th Street.
Okay, very good. All right. Are there any questions for Ms. Desruth?
Just,
Councilmember Keeley.
thank you, Madam Mayor. The copy we have, it shows it was under 2,000.
So that is a different one. There's one in your packet. The handout one will be later.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
I'm sorry for
Wait,
that
yeah.
confusion.
When you mentioned that name, I thought we were talking about the same one, but
Okay.
that
Okay,
shows
and the
that
one
there's a
in
different
our packet, yes, it's Mr. and Mrs. Benson.
Okay, yep. And I believe they're aware of the payment structure. They've spoken with staff.
Okay, very
Thank
good. Okay, any other questions for Ms. Desruth? Okay, thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this item? This item has to do with all of the street reconstruction on Shirley Drive to 138th Street and Susan Lane and 138th Street. So, that's she. Anyone to speak to this item? Please come forward and give us your name and address. Yeah, right up here, yes.
My name is Belinda, and my address is 13813 Susan Lane in Burnsville.
Okay.
And I just want to, if we make a payment, like on the property tax, it
Yes.
takes like how many years?
Okay, I am going to have our staff, Mr. Schmeling, are you going to be speaking about talking to our residents about this, or who's going to be? This has to do with,
She can take my card if she'd like, Madam Mayor, and then we can.
you got the best person, he's our Public Works Director. Talk with him afterwards, and he will help you through all of that.
Yep, thank you.
You're very welcome, yes. And don't leave, you can talk with him afterwards, yes. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure. Councilmember Keeley.
was still green. I just want to point out to everyone, this is an annual event that has always been a challenge because every year we have folks come through and they get the assessment and they look at the dollar amount and they think, you know, I've been lived here for 35 years and now I'm getting stuck with a couple thousand or 2,000 or 3,000, whatever it might be, bill, and your street gets redone and you're wondering, why isn't the city paying for this? I'm not the only one that drives on it. And there's, usually we see a good comparison chart, and the city of Burnsville has ranked as one of the lowest price assessments or lowest assessment levels by all of our comparable cities. There's a couple out there that have decided to handle it 100% by the broad tax, in other words, everybody. We're one of those that's really close. We still have assessments, but they're much smaller than everyone else. And we have discussed in the past, something I've brought up, that I feel like we go through this over and over and over again, and why don't we just put it into the general? Then everyone would be fighting to have their street redone, because then they wouldn't have any
And we just
assessments.
have to approve the levy, because that's a huge hit.
Yeah, so there's a way to phase it in over a number of years that can make it palatable, as other cities have done. But anyway, I guess part of my comment here is we actually have a really low assessment by comparison. And as you saw on the chart, in this particular example, the assessments represent 13% of the total cost overall. So thank goodness you don't live in Edina, because they usually assess $10,000 and $15,000 and $20,000 or more, and because they don't have an infrastructure trust fund. And to the benefit of the council and the mayor who was here back in the early 90s, they put in that infrastructure trust fund, which every single taxpayer pays in a little bit every year, and it built up a fund big enough to handle the majority of this cost. So it's the next best thing, I would say, to having everybody pay through their taxes and no one get any special assessments. But we may get there one year. I bring it up usually every year or two, and I get shot down. But I am happy to say that, we do have small assessments by comparison, so we are trying to make it as palatable as possible. And I think when you look at the repayment period for some of these amounts, you can stretch it out over 15 years with a relatively small amount, which makes it a few bucks a month type of thing. And that is a lot easier to swallow. And we all live here. So if, we pay the same assessments, and we go through the same thing when our street is done. So we definitely are living the same, experience when our street gets reconstructed and we get an assessment like that. Or if you live in the heart of the city like I do, you get an annual assessment for some extra street lighting and other stuff that we pay for. So anyway, that was it, Madam
I gladly
Mayor.
submitted my payment.
I just wrote that check too. Thank you.
Are you making a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you very much. Now we move on to the next public hearing, and that is a resolution to adopt the assessment for the 2018 street rehabilitation improvement.
So if I could swap it out and do the street reclamation one first.
I'm happy to do the reclamation first.
By the
And
way,
that-
if I may say, great presentation so far. This is different. I
Yeah.
love the pictures. Some good wide full-screen shots of the road. The before and afters are remarkable in that first project. I mean, the property values look like they would be enhanced. And I'm not a realtor, as Councilmember Gustafson is, but that street really looked bad, really bad. And it looks great with new pavement, new curbs.
So
That's
our
quite a dramatic
photographer, John
change.
Schmeling, is to thank for the photos.
Nice job.
These streets, when they're done, totally raises the value of these homes by so much. And I watch neighborhoods rehab itself once we do the streets. It's pretty amazing.
Okay. Ms. Desrud.
So now I'll move on to the 2018 street reclamation public hearing. The street reclamation project consists of removing the pavement and the gravel base, recycling that pavement for new gravel base, and then paving new asphalt. The only curb replacement is for spot repairs as needed. Additionally, there might be some sidewalk or utility repairs only as needed. So there were 4 locations this year in the 2018 reclamation. We'll start in the Upton area. So So this area, Upton Avenue between Williams Drive and Burnsville Parkway, there's 2 Upton cul-de-sacs included, and then Highland Drive between Upton Avenue and County Road 5. And so this is a sample picture from that neighborhood before, and then there's the after. We also did this reclamation project on Regent Lane from Burnsville Drive to Executive Boulevard, and then Executive Boulevard from Regent Lane to Burnsville Drive. And there's the before and the after. We did a section of Commonwealth Drive between County Road 11 and 134th Street, and then there's 2 Commonwealth Drive cul-de-sacs included. And there's the after. And then the last area in the reclamation project is 123rd Street from County Road 11 to 24th Avenue. There's 2 123rd Street cul-de-sacs, and then 23rd Avenue, both north and south of 123rd Street. And there is the after. So for the costs, the total project cost was a little over $4 million. Assessments were about 12% of that cost at $475,000. We did have state aid routes on this project, so state aid funding paid for about $1 million, and then the other costs were picked up with the ITF and the sewer and water and storm sewer utility. Here are the rates for this project. It's $18.53 for single family, $29.38 for multifamily, and $46.46 for all other uses. And so, in this is the project we received the written objection that you had handed out tonight.
Yep.
And that was received after the agenda was prepared. The concern of the property owner was financial burden of the special assessment. In their written objection, they indicate they are a senior citizen. I don't believe they've applied for the deferral. I think they have inquired about it. I'm not sure if they would meet the income requirement or not, since they haven't provided that information. If they, to qualify, the annual special assessment must exceed 1% of their adjusted gross income. So there is the same payment structure. As you noted, it's less than $2,000, but there is a payment structure available, or they could inquire more about the deferral and see if they would qualify. Okay. This is staff recommendation to proceed with adopting all of the special assessments. Okay. For this public hearing, it's the Highland Upton area, Regent Executive area, Commonwealth, and 123rd Street and 23rd Avenues.
Okay. Ms. Desiree, I just ask, and Mr. Peterson, that we connect with Ms. Jean Persaud and help them out and see what we can do. Thank you. Okay, this is a yes, Councilmember.
I just wanted to ask a question on this deferral program. This 1%, how did we come up with that? Something that's state statute, or is it a city policy, or how does that work?
Policy
Okay.
that was, I think, adopted last year. Or renewed last year, and maybe Ryan could speak more.
Yeah, Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, Councilman Gustafson, members of the council, we've had the deferral policy for years and
For
years and
years.
years. We did modify it a bit. We weren't charging for interest. We've clarified that we're going to do that. And then we also did some market city study, and that seemed to be about the trend was about 1% of the adjusted gross income. If you compare that to your annual assessment payment, then you would be subject, or the deferral would be available to you, as opposed to just a straight line number. So we're trying to right size the deferral to the amount of assessment. Because if you had a bigger assessment, you should have a better chance of being deferred, or a smaller assessment, you would have a better chance of being able to pay it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we've always had the deferred program,
I just wanted it more explained. It was,
so people know about
the
it.
1% was something that kind of struck me.
Okay, very
And
good.
Maybe I should just add it, there's, if you're out serving the country in the military,
Yeah,
you're
that's
out,
deferred.
that's that for deferment, full disability. So there's some different things in there, but I should have said that right off the bat.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, there are no other questions. I will now open the public hearing. This is a public hearing for the street reclamation. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on the street reclamation? Anyone? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, a motion, please. Councilmember Keeley.
Sorry, I'm just not going to push the button because I'm not sure you see the light. Oh,
Yeah, I didn't know whether you
Point-
wanted to
point
make a
blank.
motion or make a statement.
Both. Well, I'm glad we have deferral options, I think, for those folks. And this letter is just a classic example of what we see with folks who are, in this case, single senior citizens on a fixed income. And we have to make sure that we offer opportunities for them to accommodate this or defer this or work with them, period. Because whether they're veterans serving or senior citizens, the reality is the reality of their finances, and these assessments should never put them in a position where they are in, financial situation that they shouldn't be in, so, or should be put in. So anyway, I appreciate that. With that, I'll move to approve.
Councilmember Keely makes the motion.
Second?
Second by Councilmember Gustafson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you. And now we will go to the street rehabilitation. This is a public hearing, and we are asked to approve the resolution to adopt the assessments for the 2018 street rehab improvements. Ms. Desrude.
So the last of the street projects is the 2018 street rehabilitation. The street rehabilitation project consists of removing and replacing the top 2 inches of pavement and then doing repairs of sidewalk and curb and utilities only as needed. This year, we had 3 locations where we did a street rehabilitation. So the first area is West Frontage Road, north of Burnsville Parkway. And there's the before and after. The second location is Morgan Avenue, south of County Road 42. And there's the after. And the last location was West Preserve Boulevard, west of Burnsville Parkway. And there's the after. The cost breakdown for this project, the total cost was $335,000, and asbestos make it up about 30% of the total cost at $100,000. The bulk or the remainder is from the ITF, Infrastructure Trust Fund, and then the utilities. And the rates for the street rehabilitation are $13.10 per foot for single family, $18.52 for multifamily, and $22.81 for all other land uses. For this public hearing, the staff did not receive any written objections prior.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Desrude?
No, just a comment, quick.
Yep.
You saw the assessments in this case represented 30% because there wasn't that much utility, but actually the dollar amount that was assessed was smaller than the prior two, where the assessments were 13 and 12%. This was 30%, but it was only 100,000, where the other assessments were 475 and 275. So smaller dollar amount, even though a higher percentage.
Okay. If there are no other questions for Ms. Desrude, I will now open the public hearing. I open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council.
Move to approve.
Councilmember Keely makes the motion.
Second?
Second by Councilmember Gustafson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. We are at the next item, and this is a public hearing. This is for a resolution adopting the assessments for the 2018 street, no, that's not the street. This is for, see, because we
assessments.
changed everything around. This is the public hearing resolution adopting the assessments for heart of the city area, streetscape operations and maintenance. Ms. Desrude.
So next we'll move on to the heart of the city area. In the heart of the city, there's an increased level of amenities that are provided, including colored concrete, special street lighting, banners and snowflakes, hanging baskets, and boulevards and median mowing and irrigation. There are 2 levels of amenities in the heart of the city. The purplish color is called Phase 1. It's the higher level, and so it is a little bit more, costs a little bit more. The assessment rate this year for Phase 1 is $962 per foot. And then the green areas have high amenities as well, but it's a little bit lower than the purple, and they have $536 per foot as the rate. The total assessments collected is $135,000. And this is, those rates are based on the actual operations and maintenance costs to operate and maintain those amenities. 50% of the costs are assessed to the adjacent property owners, and the remaining 50% is a city cost. It's based on frontage or footage, and then if a property is has multiple owners, such as a condo, they equally share in distributing that special assessment. And so prior to the hearing, the city has not received any written objections on the heart of the city.
I had lots of people in my building who says, "Can I give you my check?" I said, "No." Bring it into City Hall, I'll mail it in. And we're having the public hearing tonight, so everybody's wanting to pay. Yeah, so, anyway, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, members of the council, may I have a motion, please?
Since I'm a payee of one of those assessments, would it be appropriate for me to move to approve?
Very appropriate. Councilmember Keeley
Or
makes the
payer,
motion.
not payee, sorry. I'll move to approve.
Yeah.
Second.
And second by Councilmember Gustafson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. And we now move on to a public hearing. This is the resolution to adopt the assessments for miscellaneous assessments. Ms. Desrude.
So this is the last special assessment public hearing that I have to present tonight. The special assessment, miscellaneous special assessments consist of unpaid false alarms in the amount of $1,140, driveway apron upgrades in the amount of $1,400, and then this column could be any number of public improvements or development fees. This year, we did a sanitary sewer service repair, and the property owner requested to be assessed, and that amounts $8,736. And we did not receive any written objections.
This is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council on this item? Anyone who wishes to address the council on this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Members of the council.
Been here before. Move to approve?
Councilmember Keeley makes the motion.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Gustafson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Members of the council, there are no other items to come before us this evening, and a motion to adjourn is in order.
Move to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn by Councilmember Gustafson.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Keeley. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.